the environment in horror games is one of the most effective elements in making the experience more interesting and, undoubtedly, scarier. This can include abandoned, haunted houses, empty, mysterious woods, fancy hotels with a dark past, and most importantly, hospitals with sinister backgrounds and hidden secrets. What makes hospitals a unique setting is the fact that, in our minds, they're supposed to be a safe place where people's lives get saved, and it's the first location we go to seek help when we have an emergency. However, this casual and positive image that we have of these places is the main reason why they turn into nightmares when their noble causes disappear and we see their other side. Things tend to be even worse when the place in question is a mental asylum, because we all know that the history of these institutions in the last 200 years is nothing to be proud of or feel optimistic about. I even believe that what happened in these buildings in real life might actually surpass the scenarios in most fictional works, which explains why they can be a perfect setting for horror entertainment. That's why I think it's time to make a list of the most unsettling and eerie hospitals we've ever dived into in horror games, that also gave us a dreadful experience that made us dismiss the idea of coming back. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Hellseat is a game that has probably been featured a dozen times on this channel, and that's for logical reasons, to be fair. It has one of the most intense atmospheres in indie gaming, accompanied by beautiful visuals that are very suitable for the timeline of the story, which takes place in the 1980s in Italy. You play as an investigator, and your dark journey starts when a group of doctors working at a psychiatric facility situated in the province of Turin raise concerns about the sudden vanishing of one of their fellow physicians, prompting a police inquiry. The game is divided into two chapters that are both challenging to finish. The first one is set in the missing doctor's house, while the second chapter takes place in the mental clinic he works for. And that's when the real horror starts. Once you step into this ambiguous location, you'll literally feel like you're being watched all the time, and there's no safe spot in any corner. The walls are covered with blood, the lights are constantly flickering, and in some rooms you can even see patients who obviously met a tragic demise, or were even subjected to unethical experiments. But that's not your worst problem, because as you delve deeper, you'll actually realize that you're not alone and that there's an unknown entity following you all the time without disturbing you directly at first. The idea of being in danger will also become even more evident when you experience troubling paranormal activities that appear out of nowhere, including a creature that comes at you before disappearing suddenly. So basically, having a fun playthrough in this hospital is the last event you can expect.
There, he's opening his eyes.
You saved him, Fuller. I can't get up. Don't move, Pierce. You can certainly say that you gave us a scare.
What did you do to me? Undo these straps!
Whoa, go easy, my friend.
You were dead. He killed you.
Are you sure he's better?
He was dead. Me too, we were dead. What are you doing?
I'm sorry, my friend.
In the enigmatic realm of Call of Cthulhu, the Riverside Institute stands as a psychiatric facility that occupies a pivotal role in the protagonist's journey, featuring prominently across multiple chapters. In Chapter 5, we specifically find our protagonist Edward Pierce navigating through a cavern teeming with cultists, only to emerge severely wounded, leading to his admission to this unsettling psychiatric hospital. The chapter basically revolves around Edward's escape from the asylum, where he must make a diversion to distract the guards and then make his way out of the building. However, even if you succeed in escaping in Chapter 5, you'll find yourself compelled to come back in Chapter 9 to rescue a woman named Marie Colden, whose life is on the line. What makes this clinic even more frightening is the fact that it's already located in a peculiar town where nothing is normal, and your presence is met with reluctance because you're not welcome there. But that's obviously not enough reason to stop the investigator Pierce from finishing his journey, which will actually become way harder when he finds himself dealing with bizarre occult threats and hidden creatures that dwell in the shadows. And it will even get worse when he finds himself confined to the Riverside Institute, where he has been infused with medications and drugs and abandoned to marinate within his own delusional world.
What do you want?
Sleep. That's all.
Sleep? You don't want to leave?
No. Have you seen the storm that's brewing? I'm fine here. Except for one problem.
You want sleeping pills, right?
Yeah. And in exchange, I can make noise. Lots of noise.
You'll draw the guards to your cell to allow me to escape.
So, you in? Find something to make me sleep, and I'll take care of the guards for you.
I didn't kill my family. I am fine. I'm not mad. I'm innocent. I mean, not guilty. What's happening? What are you doing?
The train must be stopped, but there's more to do. Your view conceals a tragedy. The whole truth you claim to see eludes you because you won't look at what's around you.
Ratledge Asylum is a fictional psychiatric hospital in London that appears in the American Mickey's Alice video game series. The asylum was founded in the early 18th century and has been in continuous operation ever since, but is basically a large, rambling complex of buildings that have been renovated over the years. Alice Liddell was committed to this establishment in 1864 after she fell into a catatonic state following the tragedy that befell her after the death of her family. However, in this 19th century Victorian medical community, Alice's fate was clearly going to be mysterious, considering that she was in the hands of doctors who did not fully understand mental issues in the first place. Alice's presence at the asylum was marked by mistreatment and extreme cruelty, both from the medical staff and the superintendent's nephews, even though one doctor by the name of Hieronymus genuinely tried to restore her to health. Between the 1860s and 1870s, when Alice was committed to Ratledge Asylum, the doctors and nurses there were known for using a variety of harsh and experimental treatments on the patients. These included straitjackets, sensory deprivation, weird medications, leeches, electroshock therapy, trepanation, and even lobotomies. These practices give us a glimpse into the disturbing medical norms of the time and the grim reality of this unbearable asylum. That's why it makes sense that the asylum's grounds are said to be haunted by the spirits of former patients who were suffering under the dark ceilings of the building.
My professional opinion, madness is often a treatable disease, though perhaps not in this case.
Authority must be obeyed, or it must be overthrown. Cruel to be kind, that's my technique, as they say. But she's as mad as a hatter, poor dearie.
The Silent Hill franchise is full of spooky places and mysterious environments that make no sense but are very effective in triggering fear in our minds. Hospitals are one of the main examples of this phenomenon, but it gets even more disturbing when they are implemented in an insanely terrifying game like Silent Hill 4. the whole game revolves around the paranormal events that constantly happen to the protagonist Henry, who initially finds himself trapped in his apartment, but eventually finds a portal in the wall that transfers him to other alternate worlds where sense and logic are the last things to find. On the other hand, the weird situation intensifies further when Henry becomes entangled within the distorted iteration of St. Jerome's Hospital while he is trying to rescue a young woman called Eileen. After awakening in an unfamiliar chamber, a sense of dread dominated his mind as he laid eyes on Walter Sullivan, who is a brutal serial killer and serves as the main antagonist in the game. With every step in the hospital, he gets more and more confused, including on the hospital's second floor, where he's confronted by malevolent wheelchairs that are controlled by a sinister force. Everything in this place is the opposite of what it should be. The nurses are hostile, and the rooms feel like a morgue and not a place for medical care, which indicates that there's no escape from this cursed building. But despite all of this, Henry must keep himself together because losing his mind is the only thing that can trap him here for the rest of his life.
I know it doesn't make sense. Not much does anymore. You killed me. I didn't like that.
I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that the Fear franchise was probably the best horror shooter during the era between 2000 and 2011. It blends psychological tension and action in a smart way that doesn't make it any less scary when you're holding a gun in your hands. The story is a little bit complicated to explain in this video, but it generally centers around a girl named Alma Wade who's been subjected to medical experiments that resulted in granting her supernatural capabilities, but they also made her extremely anguished and vengeful because she lost her human side. The series contains multiple installments that go through her frightful growth and transformation, but Extraction Point is pretty much the scariest one when it comes to hospitals designed to make your mind suffer. Auburn Memorial Hospital functions as a crucial extraction point for Delta Force operatives following the explosion of the Origin facility. The protagonist Point Man, along with colleagues Douglas Holliday and Jin Sun Quan, all strive to reach this location. But sadly, upon finally reaching the hospital, Point Man discovers the Delta Force members dead and the premises overtaken by enigmatic apparitions and replica forces. Things get even more distressing when he encounters Jin's lifeless body, with her camera incessantly capturing images of her demise. The hallucinations that Point Man encounters in the psychiatric ward are basically the main source of horror because he'll hear the pain of each person who was once a patient in the hospital, along with the souls of his friends.
I know who you are. Who do you think you are? I know what you crave, what you fear. Will you be able to live with yourself knowing what I'm going to make you do?
Another popular place in the horror gaming universe that sticks in our minds and gives us chills is definitely the infamous Beacon Mental Hospital. It's the main location where the events of the evil within take place. But even though it might look like a normal hospital at first sight, it actually has a dark and sad history at the same time. In the game's storyline, Detective Sebastian and his fellow detectives receive an urgent summons to Beacon Mental Hospital after it became the site of a horrific mass murder. When Sebastian arrived, he discovered that there was only one survivor left, accompanied by a recording. Due to his curiosity, Sebastian decides to rewind the footage, unveiling a creepy and illogical video that captures a squad of police officers engaged in a fierce firefight with an unseen adversary, only to meet a swift and fatal demise. From this point, Sebastian finds himself stuck in a nightmare version of the hospital, where he's continually chased by horrifying creatures that make him question his own sanity to find out if they're real or if they're part of his delusions. Each part of the environment has secrets and clues that can help him understand its history or make him feel even more lost, which can also reflect on the suffering that the people had in the mental institution when it was operating.
Hey, are you guys from around here? I don't know where...
Can't go on.
All you do is drink. I need you, and I love you more than I can express.
I don't understand how this happens. Sometimes he scares me. I just need to numb the pain.
Just like Hellseed, Infliction is also an indie horror game that made it to multiple videos on the channel, including a list of the best indie horror games of all time. The story unfolds within the boundaries of a formerly cheerful household and delves into the shadows that now loom over the remnants of a suburban family. In this interactive narrative, you find yourself on a nightmarish journey, endeavoring to piece together fragmented clues and seeking redemption for past transgressions. The initial mission here is to find a plane ticket that belongs to your wife, but things scale too quickly to become an absolute psychological hell, where apparently the wife is already dead and seeks vengeance from her husband. However, if you think the house is the scariest environment here, you'll probably change your mind when you find out that there's a chapter where you find yourself in a mental hospital that you have no idea about its history. The eerie ambience of this otherworldly setting is further intensified by the fact that you need a camera to discern concealed messages, keys, and entrances, often inscribed in unsettling bloodstains. On top of that, a handful of unexpected jump scares are strategically placed to ensure you remain constantly focused on survival and do not get too comfortable in any second.
Little Michael. I'm still not used to the name, but he's starting to grow on me. He's perfect. And he looks just like you. He's got your eyes.
What kind of God would kill an innocent baby?
My name is Simon. I'm just an average guy. Nothing special about me. Like someone you don't notice. Someone nobody cares about. Someone left outside. More often than not, I'm alone. And anxiety and depression controls my life every day.
Cry of Fear is one of the most underrated titles in the last 10 years, not just because of its enjoyable gameplay, but mainly due to its interesting deep story and crazy plot twist. The protagonist here is a young man named Simon, and his mental health is far from stable, and it's mostly because of his extreme feelings of loneliness. You will assume his role as he walks around the city until the events suddenly start to escalate and take a sinister route that defies logic. He'll start encountering weird creatures, seeing supernatural apparitions, and even having a sad conversation with the girl he loves. Nevertheless, one of the last locations that he'll have to visit is an asylum in the middle of nowhere where an evil doctor resides and works. In this asylum, Your actions and choices as a player can actually decide how the ending of the game will be after you defeat the Doctor. But the crazier part is that this asylum doesn't even exist in the real world and never has. Everything in the game, including monsters, places, and even the Doctor, is just a creation of Simon's imagination and deep thoughts, which are a real medical condition that some people can have in real life, by the way. And what makes the asylum the most disturbing place here is the fact that it obviously represents the place that scares Simon the most because he's afraid that he might end up there in real life at some point. The Doctor also apparently represents his actual psychiatrist, who's monitoring his mental condition. So the main point here is that our minds can sometimes be the biggest source of our fears, and the real monster can be residing within our heads without us realizing it.
Simon, the pills by itself won't make you feel better. You have to do something more than that. I recommend that you try a new modern treatment called cognitive therapy.
What's that?
Well, it's a set of exercises you do, a way to forget the past, all the bad memories and anxiety you have. Are you interested in books, Simon?
I don't know. Why?
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave.
Brookhaven Hospital is a mental institution in the Silent Hill series and is located in the South Vale area of the town of Silent Hill. It has made appearances in Silent Hill 2 and 3, as well as Silent Hill the arcade, and even the Silent Hill film. Nevertheless, it consistently emerges within the confines of the fog world, where it typically lies in abandonment and teems with menacing creatures. But the most disturbing part is probably that this eerie realm often features the presence of nurses as prevalent antagonistic figures. Brookhaven Hospital is simply a manifestation of the anxieties of individuals grappling with both physical and mental ailments, possibly reflecting concerns about declining healthcare standards or even instances of medical negligence. Within the context of Silent Hill, hospitals serve as a canvas to depict the profound fears associated with illness, anguish, and mortality, and Brookhaven Hospital is no deviation from this thematic exploration. Inside this bizarre hospital, it appears that the medical practitioners exhibit a lack of genuine concern for the well-being of their patients. Their focus is basically directed just towards maximizing profit from the circumstances of helpless people. It kind of makes sense when you realize that in Silent Hill 2, James went to this hospital to find his ill wife there, but ended up facing a variety of scary entities that obviously represent the ethics of the doctors there, or they actually symbolize James' regret and guilt because he believes that he's the one responsible for his wife's death and he can't forgive himself for it, which basically makes this place even more distressing.
Get them out! Please! The doctor is dead! Listen, clean your
This one is probably the most popular place on the list because it reminds most of us of a very stressful experience we had in gaming. Mount Massive Asylum is a psychiatric hospital in the Outlast series located in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. But what's happening inside it is definitely far from normal psychiatric activities. It was established in the 1950s by the Murkoff Corporation, which is an entity that presents itself as a pharmaceutical company experimenting with a new treatment called morphogenic engine. The treatment was initially designed to help in certain cases of mental disorders, but it had some serious side effects, including psychosis and unexplainable violence. As the decades passed, a group of patients at the asylum began to exhibit these side effects at an even higher rate. They became extremely aggressive and uncontrollable, and they even began fighting each other to death. Despite the fact that the Murkoff Corporation sent a team of commandos to the asylum to contain the situation, they were unsuccessful, and the chaos continued. The asylum was eventually overrun by the patients, who became known as the variants, which are highly brutal and dangerous, and they are constantly attacking each other and anyone who enters the place. The rest is history, because if you played this game, then you definitely have a clear understanding of the insane situation inside, and how the protagonist Miles had an absolutely miserable time trying to survive. I also think it's worth noting that the place is actually inspired by a real institution in Pennsylvania called Pennhurst Asylum, which was an institution that's renowned for its dark history when it comes to secret experiments on humans.
You gotta be inside the truth to buy it. You gotta have faith. And that's what I'm here for. To make you believe.
This is all for today. I didn't mention all the scary hospitals out there, but I'm confident that I listed 10 of the most memorable ones that our minds can easily recognize. If you feel that I missed some big names, then as usual, make sure to remind me in the comments below, because there might actually be a part 2 of this video. I believe you already did a good job yesterday guessing a considerable number of locations mentioned on this list, and I obviously can get some ideas from your suggestions. Hospitals and asylums remain one of the most interesting and chilling places that our curiosity can't get enough of, and I think developers are fully aware of that. Anyway, until next time, stay safe and don't push yourselves too hard.